Chapter 6. Mastering the Voice and Mannerisms. The Pokémon Center's small training room was quiet, save for the faint hum of the air conditioner and the occasional chirping of wild tallow outside the window. Ash sat cross-legged on the floor, arms folded tightly across his chest, his face a mix of frustration and embarrassment. His long auburn hair, May's hair, kept falling into his face, and he flicked it back irritably for the 5th time in as many minutes. Brock stood in front of him like a stern teacher, holding a small, slightly battered portable speaker in one hand and a notebook in the other. Max, meanwhile, was sprawled across the couch with the smugness of someone who knew they were the one being humiliated today. Pikachu was curled up next to him, its ears twitching occasionally as if even it were bracing itself for whatever was about to happen. "All right," Brock said, breaking the silence as he fiddled with the speaker. "This is going to be the most important part of your disguise. You've got the look down, but if you don't sound like May, it's game over." Ash groaned, slumping slightly. "Why can't we just say May has a cold or something? Then I wouldn't have to." "Nope." Max cut him off, grinning like a Meowth with a fresh bag of coins. "No one's going to buy that. You've got to nail her voice, Ash. Otherwise the first person who talks to you will figure out you're not her faster than a Pidgeot on a tailwind." Ash shot him a glare. "Thanks for the vote of confidence, Max." "Any time," Max replied, his grin widening. Brock cleared his throat, clearly trying to steer them back on track. "All right, let's focus. We'll start simple. I've got a recording of one of May's contest introductions. Listen carefully, and pay attention to how she speaks." He pressed a button on the speaker, and a crackle of static filled the room before May's voice came through. "Hi, everyone. I'm May from Petalburg City, and I'm here to dazzle you in today's competition. Beautifully. Let's show them our best." Her voice was confident, cheerful, and full of energy. It had a certain bubbly quality to it, like every word was carefully wrapped in enthusiasm and charm. Brock hit pause, and looked at Ash expectantly. "All right, your turn." Ash stared at him like he'd just been asked to juggle flaming Charizard tails. "Do I really have to do this?" "Yes," Max said immediately, sitting up straighter. "Because if you don't, people are going to figure out you're a fraud faster than you can say Pokeblock." Ash groaned, tilting his head back dramatically. "Fine then. Kind Thor. Tupkant. Let's get this over with." He cleared his throat, sat up a little straighter, and tried to mimic May's cheerful tone. "Hi, everyone. I'm May from Petalburg City, and I'm here to... He trailed off awkwardly, his voice cracking halfway through and ending on a note that sounded more like a crogunk being stepped on than a cheerful contest star. Max immediately burst out laughing, clutching his stomach as he doubled over on the couch. "Oh man, you sound like May if she swallowed a Whismer." Ash's face turned bright red, and he glared daggers at Max. "I'd like to see you do better." Max smirked, unfazed. "I don't have to. I'm not the one pretending to be her." All right, Brock interrupted, raising his hands like a referee trying to break up a fight. "Let's focus. Ash, try again. But this time, don't force it. May's voice is higher pitched than yours, but it's also softer. You don't have to shout. Just ease into it." Ash rolled his eyes but nodded reluctantly. "Okay, fine. Let me try again." He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, mentally bracing himself. Straightening his back, he let the words roll off his tongue as naturally as he could. "Hi, everyone. I'm May from Petalburg City, and I'm here to dazzle you in today's competition." The room was silent for a moment. Max blinked, sitting up slightly. "Okay, that was better. You didn't sound like you were choking on a pokey puff this time." Ash raised an eyebrow, his tone flat. "Wow, thanks for the glowing review, Max. Really motivational." Brock nodded thoughtfully, ignoring the banter. It's definitely an improvement. But you need more energy. May's voice always has this cheerful bounce to it. Like she's genuinely excited about everything she's saying. Ash frowned, scratching the back of his head. Now, snore? Cheerful bounce? What even is that? How am I supposed to sound like that? Max leaned forward, his mischievous grin returning. Just imagine every sentence ends with an exclamation point. Like, wow, look at this flower. Or, oh my gosh, a Pikachu, like May does. All the time. Ash gave him a withering look. I don't think I've ever been that excited about a flower in my entire life. Well, get used to it, Max said, shrugging. Because May is that excited. About everything. All the time. You've got to match that energy or it's not going to work. Brock chuckled, flipping through his notebook. Max has a point. May's energy is part of what makes her so likable. If you can channel that, you'll sound more convincing. Ash groaned, rubbing his temples as if trying to massage the stress out of his brain. This is going to be a long day. Yep, Max said cheerfully, leaning back on the couch. And I'm going to enjoy every second of it. Ash shot him another glare, but said nothing. Instead, he took another deep breath and tried again. Hi, everyone. I'm May from Petalburg City, and I'm here to dazzle you in today's competition. Max tilted his head, considering. Then Diawen. Not bad. You're getting closer. But you need to smile while you're saying it. May always sounds like she's smiling, even when she's just talking. Ash blinked. How am I supposed to sound like I'm smiling? Max grinned, clearly enjoying himself. Easy. Just smile while you talk. Like this. He put on an exaggerated grin and mimicked May's voice. Hi, everyone. I'm May, and I'm so excited to be here. Ash grimaced. You look like you're about to eat somebody. Pikachu let out a small, giggle-like pika from its spot on the couch, earning a glare from Ash. Not you too, he muttered. Brock sighed, stepping in to mediate once again. All right, let's take it one step at a time. Start with the smile, Ash. It'll feel weird at first, but it'll help your tones sound more natural. Ash reluctantly forced a smile, and tried again. Hi, everyone. I'm May from Petalburg City, and I'm here to dazzle you in today's competition. This time the words came out smoother, brighter, and, dare he admit it, almost convincing. Brock smiled. Much better. Keep practicing that, and you'll be ready in no time. Ash let out a long sigh, flopping back onto the floor. I don't know how May does this every day. It's exhausting. Max smirked, leaning over the edge of the couch. Better get used to it, May. You've still got a long way to go. Ash groaned, covering his face with his hands. I'm starting to think I should have just stayed in bed today. After what felt like an eternity of voice practice, Ash slumped into a chair, his head tilted back as he stared at the ceiling. His throat felt like it had been sandpapered, and his patience was wearing thinner than a butterfree's wings. Okay. Seriously, he muttered, his voice hoarse. How does she talk like that all the time without losing her voice? Does May drink like a gallon of honey tea every morning or something? Brock walked over, handing him a glass of water. You'll get used to it, he said with a casual shrug. But don't get too comfortable. Speaking of which, we need to move on to the next step. Ash looked up at him suspiciously, taking a long sip from the glass. Next step? Please tell me it's not something worse than this. Your facial expressions, Brock said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Ash blinked. My what? Your face, Brock replied patiently, sitting down across from him. May has a very expressive face. She's always smiling, frowning, or doing one of those little head tilts when she's thinking. If you're going to pull this off, you've got to nail all those little details. Max, who had been lounging on the couch with Pikachu curled up beside him, smirked. Yeah, because right now you look like you're angry at the world every time you open your mouth. May doesn't glare at people like she's about to challenge them to a Pokémon battle. Ash shot him a look that could only be described as a glare, proving Max's point perfectly. I don't glare, Ash muttered defensively, though his narrowing eyes and furrowed brow said otherwise. Aha, Max said, grinning as he leaned back and laced his hands behind his head. Sure you don't. Brock sighed and pulled out his Pokémon, scrolling through a series of photos and videos. Here, he said, holding the screen up for Ash to see. These are clips of May during some of her contests. Pay attention to how she reacts to different situations. See how she smiles when she's talking to the crowd. Or how she scrunches up her nose when Max annoys her. Ash leaned forward, squinting at the screen. In one clip, May was laughing, her eyes sparkling with amusement as she playfully swatted at Max, who had clearly said something obnoxious. In another, she was focused, her brows furrowed slightly as she gave beautifully a command. The expressions were natural, fluid, and perfectly timed to match her emotions. Okay, Ash said slowly, nodding as he studied the videos. I think I get it. She's animated, but not over the top. Exactly, Brock said. It's all about balance. You want to look natural, not like you're forcing it. Good luck with that, Max quipped. Right now, you've got all the emotional range of a Graveler. Ash turned to him, his expression somewhere between annoyance and disbelief. You're really enjoying this, aren't you? Oh, absolutely, Max said without hesitation. This is the best thing that's happened all week. Ash rolled his eyes and turned back to Brock. All right, let's just get this over with. What do I do first? Start with a smile, Brock said, stepping back to give Ash some space. May's smile is soft, natural, it's not forced. Think of something that makes you happy, and let it show on your face. Ash hesitated, then forced his mouth into a wide, toothy grin. Max immediately fell off the couch, clutching his sides as he howled with laughter. What is that? He choked out between gasps. You look like a Psyduck trying to sell toothpaste. Ash's forced smile dropped instantly, replaced by a scowl. I'd like to see you try, Max. Relax, Ash, Brock said, shaking his head in exasperation. Max is right, though. May's smile isn't that aggressive. You're overthinking it. Just relax your face and think about something that genuinely makes you happy. Ash frowned, leaning back in his chair. Pikachu hopped onto his lap, looking up at him with an encouraging Pika Pika, Dat. Something that makes me happy, huh? Ash muttered, scratching Pikachu behind the ears. He closed his eyes, letting his mind wander. He thought about Pikachu landing a perfect thunderbolt in a battle, or the time he finally beat Gary in the Pokémon League. Slowly, a more genuine smile spread across his face. There you go, Brock said, nodding in approval. That's more like it. Max tilted his head, studying Ash critically. It's still a little off, but it's better. You've got the happy May look down. Now, try the annoyed May look. Annoyed May? Ash repeated, raising an eyebrow. Yeah, Max said, sitting up and crossing his arms dramatically. He scrunched up his nose and tilted his head in an exaggerated imitation of his sister. Max, stop eating all my Poké Puffs, Max. Don't touch my ribbons. Ash couldn't help but laugh. That's actually pretty accurate. You'd know, Max said with a smug grin. Now, your turn. Ash sighed, but decided to play along. He crossed his arms and scrunched his nose, mimicking May's expression as best he could. Max blinked, his grin faltering slightly. Okay, that's actually kind of freaky. You looked exactly like her just now. Brock nodded in agreement. That was spot on. You're starting to get the hang of this. Ash straightened up, a small flicker of pride in his chest. Maybe this won't be so hard after all. Don't get cocky, Max said, his grin returning. You've still got a long way to go. May has a ton of facial expressions. What about her thinking face? You know, the one where she tilts her head and bites her lip. Ash groaned, slumping back in his chair. This is going to take forever. Probably, Max said cheerfully. But hey, at least it's entertaining for the rest of us. All right, let's keep practicing, Brock said, ignoring Max's comment. You're making good progress, Ash. Let's try a few more expressions and see if we can smooth out the rough edges. Ash sighed, rubbing his temples. I swear, by the time this is over, I'm going to have the weirdest set of skills of any Pokémon trainer in history. Pikachu patted his arm with a supportive pika. Thanks, buddy, Ash said, giving Pikachu a tired smile. At least someone's on my side. Don't worry, Ash, Max said, leaning back on the couch again. By the time we're done, you'll look so much like May. You'll start scolding me for eating too many snacks. Ash snorted. Yeah, don't count on it. By the end of the day, Ash felt like a worn-out Poké doll after a hyper beam. His throat ached from hours of voice practice. His cheeks were sore from smiling so much, and his face muscles outright rebelled every time he tried to scrunch his nose or tilt his head just right. Who knew being May was this exhausting? Still, as much as he hated to admit it, he was starting to feel a little more confident. His voice was less Krogunk with a cold, and more May on a good hair day, and his expressions, while still a work in progress, were no longer the stuff of Psyduck nightmares. All right, Brock said, clapping his hands together and breaking Ash's exhausted trance. Let's put everything together. We'll do a full run-through. Max and I will ask you some questions, and you'll respond as May. Just relax and keep everything you've practiced in mind. Ash straightened in his chair, his back cracking audibly as he forced himself upright. Yeah, sure. Let's get this over with, he said, though the weariness in his voice didn't exactly scream enthusiasm. No, Brock said, wagging a finger. You're not Ash right now. You're May. Sit up straight, smile, and remember. Energy. Ash groaned but adjusted his posture, sitting up straight and forcing a cheerful smile onto his face. He felt ridiculous, like a kid auditioning for a school play, but he wasn't about to let Max have any more reasons to laugh at him. Okay, I'm ready, he said in his best May voice, the pitch higher and bubblier than his usual tone. Max smirked, leaning forward on the couch with a mischievous glint in his eye. All right, May, he began, his tone far too smug for Ash's liking. What's your favorite food? Ash blinked, caught off guard by the simplicity of the question. For a split second, his mind blanked. Then he remembered Brock's advice. Think like May. Channel May. Oh, I see ya. He tilted his head thoughtfully, just as he'd seen her do in the videos, and let the answer roll off his tongue. Easy, Ash said in May's voice, adding a cheerful lilt to his words. It's noodles. Especially the ones from that little shop in Slateport City. They're the best. Max's smirk faltered. He blinked, clearly surprised. That was, actually pretty good. Ash raised an eyebrow. Well, he tried to, but May's face didn't quite cooperate the way his own would. What? You thought I'd mess that up? Honestly, Max said, leaning back with a shrug. Yeah. Focus, Brock said, cutting in with a small smile. All right. Next question. May, what's your favorite contest move to show off during a performance? Ash took another moment to think, tilting his head slightly as he tried to channel May's enthusiasm. He felt Pikachu's expectant eyes on him from its spot on the armrest, which only added to the pressure. I'd have to say beautiful silver wind, Ash answered, his voice bright and confident. It's so sparkly, and the crowd absolutely loves it. Brock nodded approvingly. Good. You're starting to sound more natural. Max, however, wasn't about to let Ash off the hook so easily. He rubbed his chin, his grin returning in full force. All right, one more. May, what's the most annoying thing about traveling with us? Ash smirked, immediately catching on to the trap Max was setting. He gave Max a pointed look, though it was softened by the cheerful veneer of May's expression. That's easy, Ash said, his voice laced with faux sweetness. It's you, Max. You're always eating my poker blocks and blaming it on Torchic. Max's jaw dropped as Brock burst out laughing, the older boy nearly doubling over as he clapped Ash on the shoulder. You nailed it, Ash. That was perfect, right down to the tone. That was not perfect, Max protested, his face flushing as he shot Ash a glare. Hey, that only happened once. And I didn't even eat that many poker blocks. Ash leaned back, crossing his arms with a smug grin. Sure, Max. Whatever helps you sleep at night. All right, Brock said, still chuckling as he stepped between them. Let's not get carried away. Ash, that was great. You're really starting to sound like her now. Ash let out a slow breath, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. You really think so? Yeah, Brock said, nodding. Your tone, your expressions, it's all coming together. You're still rough around the edges, but with a little more practice you'll be ready. Max crossed his arms, muttering something under his breath that sounded suspiciously like, it's still creepy though. Ash ignored him, focusing instead on the growing sense of accomplishment bubbling up inside him. He adjusted the bandana on his head, feeling more confident than he had all day. Good, he said, his voice steady. Because if I'm going to do this, I can't just be okay at it. I have to be perfect. No one can know it's me. Brock smiled, his expression warm but serious. You're almost there, Ash. A little more polish, and no one will be able to tell the difference. Max, still sulking slightly, finally nodded. Yeah. You sound like her. You even look like her. It's weird, but yeah. You're pulling it off. Ash couldn't help but grin, though he quickly reined it in, reminding himself to stay in character. He straightened his back, adjusted his posture, and gave them a bright, cheerful smile. The kind May would give after nailing a tough contest routine. Thanks, guys, he said in May's voice. I couldn't have done it without you. Max groaned. All right, now it's too convincing. Stop that. Pikachu let out a cheerful Pika Pika from the couch, hopping onto Ash's lap and giving him an approving pat. Ash laughed, scratching Pikachu behind the ears. At least someone's fully supportive. Max rolled his eyes. Yeah. Don't get too full of yourself, May. You've still got a lot to learn. Brock chuckled. Max is right. Ow. Tomorrow we'll practice some more advanced scenarios. Things you might encounter during a contest or on the road. But for now, I think you've earned a break. Ash sighed in relief, flopping back in the chair and letting his cheerful mask slip for a moment. Finally. I thought my face was going to freeze like that. Max smirked. Hey, if it does, at least you'll look pretty. Ash grabbed a pillow from the couch and chucked it at Max's head.